people of the internet, and welcome to another theatrical movie review. I am, of course, your host, Andres Perez, aka KaijuNoir, and here with me, as always, is my good old buddy, Enshohma.
Yes, when it comes to Batman and KaijuNoir, I'm your faithful Robin, Red Hood, Alfred.
Great work, old chum.
Gee Willikers.
So we are going to be talking about the Lego Batman movie, not to be confused with Lego Batman the movie, or like any of the other Lego Batman related direct-to-video movies that were sort of a spin-off from the Lego Batman video games. No, this is actually a spin-off of the Lego movie, which was the movie that came out about 2 years ago that kind of surprised everybody with just how good it was. And, of course, many people loved that version of Batman, portrayed by Will Arnett. And so now we got a movie featuring this wild, crazy, over-the-top, exaggerated version of Batman. So, sorry, I can't speak at the moment. To start things off, Enshohma, what were your thoughts towards the Lego movie?
Well, like everyone else, I did have a bit of cynicism against it, largely because it looked like a naked commercial. But then when I heard about the people behind the movie, who I had experience with the old MTV animated series Clone High, which is exceptionally funny and definitely worth checking out.
Oh yeah, that's right. So, like, the creators of the TV show were the writers of this one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of good success with other movies, as well as, I don't know, I don't know their resume off the top of my head, unfortunately, but, no, these guys, they're pretty good at, oh yeah, they're also responsible for the 21 Jump Street movie reboots.
Oh yeah, which was also another surprised hit.
Yeah, exactly. So when these guys do comedy, regardless of subject, they tend to take it all the way and do it with some level of good quality. So there was some faith for the Lego movie. I was honestly surprised actually seeing the film, though. Just how good it actually was and how clever it was, and especially the whole aesthetic of it being sort of like a story written by a child taken into extreme Hollywood lengths.
And there's a really smart reason for that I don't want to spoil because the movie is relatively new.
Yeah, exactly. If you have not seen the Lego movie, definitely go see it. Although I think with this podcast we're about to do, we'll start sharing our initial opinions, and then halfway we'll get into spoiler territory if we want to talk about anything in particular.
Sounds pretty good.
Okay.
And so I guess the next thing I wanted to ask you is, what were your thoughts towards the Lego movie's portrayal of Batman?
So desperately needed and equally refreshing, because let's face it, Batman has been kind of overdone, especially
as you probably know our thoughts towards that whole the Batmania. If you've seen our review for Batman: The Killing Joke,
exactly, and let's face it, almost anything related to Batman and entertainment is directly because of Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers, they hold on to franchises like how can I say it without sounding too offensive? A psychotic grandmother holding on to the bones of her dead daughter. I don't know, in a creepy house off in the southern wilderness.
Or a rock star and his cocaine addiction.
No, that's a little too calm and homely for Warner Brothers.
All right then.
Yeah.
So
no, it's like Warner Brothers, to me, it's like the creepy guy who's like, remember Harry Potter? It's been 8 years. We got a new one, except it's a prequel. Give us more of that Harry Potter bucks. You remember Batman, don't you remember Batman? Well, now we got a new Batman, but he's fighting Superman. That's a good idea, right? Right?
Now you got me thinking of the member berries from the last season of South Park. Ooh, remember the Batmobile? Oh, I remember.
I know. It's... the thing about Hollywood in general, I'm not going to make it too big of a rant about this, but there's an old saying...
For the 100th time?
Yeah, there's an old saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again for 100 times and expecting different results. That's how I feel about Warner Brothers, and practically every other movie studio that's in existence currently. Especially put things like Lionsgate and their plethora of failed adult teen and a young adult novel movie adaptations.
Teen novel dramas.
Exactly, which this new upcoming Power Rangers looks to be another victim of so far by the trailers. Warner Brothers keeps going back into the same damn wells over and over again, and they stick to their successes and abandon anything with the slightest failings, which is the reason why we've seen more Batman movies than we have seen Superman movies. I don't know what they're doing over at 20th Century Fox, and of course Sony is probably the
the sinking ship of Hollywood.
The sinking ship of Hollywood, while still saying it's like, look guys, I can still pedal this thing.
That looks like 'tis but a scratch.
I think. Oh yeah,
that was their reaction. They were the Black Knight after their ship got struck by the iceberg.
Exactly. So it's like, you got no Spider-Man left. Yes, I do.
But like, no, he's gone. No, he isn't. Then what is that?
It's just a reboot.
Tis an agreement.
Exactly.
So it's funny how we got the Lego Batman movie as our first spin-off, because it seems like, of course, everyone loved Batman and everyone loved the Lego. Everyone likes Legos. Everyone likes the Lego movie. So of course Warner Bros. Was like, "Oh, what's that? People like Batman in that movie? Okay, another Batman movie. Let's go."
Exactly. Yet
safe.
Yeah.
Whew.
You remember the Lego movie, right? You remember the Batman? What is
remember the Batman? Yeah. Oh, I remember.
I kind of like my creepy old nostalgic guy a little better, but we'll go with that.
Of course, you're biased towards your own jokes.
I don't know if that's a backhanded compliment or an insult disguised as a backhanded compliment.
You can take it any way you want.
Yay.
So anyways, but it's funny how we got the Lego Batman movie, because not only is it sort of a safe move on Warner Brothers' part, but it's also a great opportunity for the writers to just satirize the shit out of Batman, his fan base, the history, just take all of this, all of the entirety of the Batman franchise and just put a incredible satirical, yet it's mean-spirited in some cases, it's cynical in some cases, but it's also loving, I believe, in others as well.
Yes, I completely agree with you in that regard. And thankfully, the end result is fantastic, because I remember when we were done watching this movie together, the first thing I stated to you is that a lot of people on the internet are making this declaration that this is the best Batman movie ever made. And your immediate reaction was that you fully agreed with them.
Yes. I thought you were gonna quote me, and it was like, if you're expecting me to quote myself, I don't remember what I said.
Wow.
I can't be held accountable.
This podcast is as going as well as Warner Brothers executives. Or Sony.
It's going as well as Sony.
Yeah, exactly. So
the Sony ship.
Hey, remember that reboot we did of Ghostbusters? Let's do it again.
Oh, I remember.
Hey.
All right. So we've got, let's see. I'm trying to see who was on board from the Lego movie onto this movie. And so far, it's got the same producers of Dan Lin and Roy Lee. Other than that, we've got ourselves a different director. We've got, I believe, a different team of... Well, we got Christopher Miller, who is back as the... he was a producer of the this movie, and he was a writer, the writer for the Lego movie. So we've got sort of like the basic creative team, but we also got some new people behind the scenes in terms of like the director and writer.
Yeah, I'm looking at some information here. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, those were the two guys directly responsible for the Lego movie. But
they're both producers here, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, producer is really just an organizer, or as many Gamera movies have taught us, the people behind planning.
Right. Well, they still have they can also always have creative influence over them, because it's technically their money that they're putting into a project. So depending on how much of an involvement the producer would have in a movie, there's a chance that they could influence stuff to make it something that they want to, invest their money in.
Right. But like I said, a more correct term for a producer is sort of a planner. since they're the ones who plan the whole production and the stories and gets everything together, regardless if they're the money men or not. And
right.
Let's face it, this is Warner Brothers, so most likely the big boys upstairs who are constantly being attacked by the Warner Brothers and their sister Dot are the ones doing the money. So, yes, everything you've seen on television is true. Believe it.
Everything is not awesome.
Right.
Everything ain't awesome. So, what happens in the Lego Batman movie? Well, pretty much everything happens in the Lego Batman movie.
Right.
The movie starts off establishing who this version of Batman is. It sets off the very comedic, over-the-top tone of the film, with Batman facing off against every single villain, every single popular and unpopular and obscure villain, everyone from the Joker to the Condiment King. And so eventually the movie, kind of after that, establishing who Batman is and what this version of Gotham City is like, it then goes into exploring this version of Batman as a character, where this Batman kind of embodies I like to think that this version of Batman embodies the mentality of kind of like the Batman fanboys who think Batman is the be-all, end-all superhero who can do no wrong because he's Batman. And so this version has adopted that mentality, believing that he is the greatest, he is the best, and no one can ever top him. And so, but because he is someone who he's a glory hog, we learn very quickly that he is someone who loves all the attention simply because it's kind of there to fill a hole in his life, and that hole being just his suffering. He doesn't want to suffer the loneliness that he truly has when outside of his Batman persona. And it's very interesting that this version of Batman is so dedicated to his Batman persona, you rarely see him as Bruce Wayne, simply because I guess there's a part of him that doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne, because then it will remind him of, again, his loneliness.
What are you talking about? We all know Bruce Wayne and Batman they're just roommates. They're not the same person.
You're right, that is true.
Okay.
Yeah. Bruce Wayne lives in Batman's attic.
Exactly. Bruce Wayne is Batman's landlord. So it's just ridiculous.
So then the status quo immediately changes when we have Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson introduced, where through shenanigans, Bruce Wayne ends up accidentally adopting Dick Grayson. And so eventually this is sort of an origin story for the Lego universe's version of Robin. And it deals with Batman dealing with learning how to raise a son, as well as dealing with Barbara Gordon, who replaces Jim Gordon as the commissioner of Gotham City. Meanwhile, you've got the Joker, who's coming up with his latest scheme to take over the city and proving to Batman that he is his worst enemy in a very ex-girlfriend stalker, kind of like an obsessive stalker ex-girlfriend sort of way. It's genius.
Yeah, or in the more pleasant light that it's sort of a bromance between supervillain and superhero.
Right. Of course, I believe there have been several points in Batman's history where people like to play up this sort of homoeroticism of Batman and the Joker's obsession towards each other.
Yeah, or at the very least, just Joker's side of the equation, because one of my all-time favorite Lex Luthor moments was him insulting Joker while being tortured by the Joker, saying, "Batman will never take you to the prom. Give it up." And it really got under the Joker's skin. So.
Or it reminds me of Frank Miller's depiction of the Joker, where I believe there was this... he was, I believe, more feminized in some cases, especially if you read between his monologues. And there's a portion where I think this was spoken out loud in the animated adaptation, but there was like some monologuing back and forth where I think even the Joker would say like, "I know you keep track of every single person I've ever killed during our time together, and that's why I love you for it."
Yeah, thankfully it never gets to the dark extremes, and no doubt if Warner Brothers had its way,
and of course but the thing is, the reason why this is all played up for laughs, I think that's the reason why the writers were able to get away with just lambasting the shit out of the source material.
Well, I think lambasting is the best way to put it, and again, similar to the Lego movie. They play it up like an epic screenplay written by an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old, if you will. So
and then the Joker, he brings all these characters together, and then the Daleks show up, and then fucking King Kong is there, and then Batman, he makes a bat robot.
For the second half.
I don't care at this point.
Fine.
They could have if you hadn't jumped in, you would have easily thought, the audience would have easily thought that wasn't true.
Ah, damn it. Let's pretend that never happened. Let's continue from scratch right here.
Let's pretend like Sony and denied that we did anything wrong.
Godzilla 98? What's that? We never made a Godzilla movie. Stop pointing
Ghostbusters a flop? Please. So anyways, what was your take on this approach towards the Batman mythos?
Let me gather my thoughts here. Well, first off, this is a rare parody movie that isn't just a bunch of it is a bunch of references, but
yeah.
It doesn't rely solely on the references that it's making. This isn't like Epic Movie or,
right.
I know what you did, the scary movie type of ordeals.
Mm-hmm.
And
it actually reminds me, sorry to interrupt, but it reminds me a lot of Gehara, where there are a lot of both obvious and very subtle references hidden throughout the film.
Mm-hmm. Another example, I think, would probably be something similar to Young Frankenstein or Hot Fuzz, where there's direct references to all sorts of movie cliches and tropes or to a movie directly. In fact, the art design of this movie is very reminiscent of the Joel Schumacher, Tim Burton films. More so.
Everyone's got it's a very colorful movie, very visually pleasing, and which is kind of ironic considering this is a Batman movie. So you would have expected a very darker, Tim Burton-esque approach to the story, like the Lego Batman video games. But no, it's actually very multicolored, very cotton candy like aesthetic, and a lot of the redesigns for many of the villains, because all of these designs are pretty much new and original designs solely for the movie, save for Batman's costume, which was inspired by the costume that Batman wore in Lego Batman 2, the video game, where it's the first Lego Batman was a very generic, like gray and black suit, but then for Lego Batman 2 and Lego Batman 3, the video games, they adopted the Tim Burton suit of all black with a yellow emblem, and that's the suit they went with for the Lego movie Batman, and for the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah. I completely forgot what you asked me beforehand. My thoughts on this whole Okay.
Right. Oh, yeah, but sorry, I was going to say everyone's got a very colorful aesthetic, like Barbara Gordon, who eventually becomes Batgirl, she's got a very Adam West-inspired costume while still having original details. Robin's got a more sparkly cape with green goggles / glasses similar to Carrie Kelly. The Joker's got yellow sleeves when he's not wearing his purple trench coat. He's got like Jack, hearts, diamond, and clubs decorations on his white gloves.
Well, it's funny because this is like the ultimate meta referencing of almost everything Batman, because you get references everywhere. But but if you got rid of all those references, which is both a strength and a weakness for this movie, which we'll get to in a little bit. As a story, it stands perfectly on its own, because you mentioned earlier that the Batman here is kind of portrayed as sort of like the uber Batman fan who can do no wrong.
He's Batman's biggest fan. In this universe, Batman's biggest fan is himself.
Exactly, and I think that's the great thing that makes this movie work, is get rid of all the references, get rid of all the in-jokes and obvious jokes, like the fact that Batman doesn't believe in the existence of Bruce Wayne. As a story, it stands perfectly well on its own, because it is a story about basically a man-child who needs to grow up despite the fact that he's the goddamn Batman. And that's one of my favorite jokes. One of the recurring jokes in this that I just find hilarious is the relationship between Batman and Alfred. Like, I love that scene where Alfred is reading a book about how to deal with difficult children.
Yeah.
But this takes place it's the Lego universe, but it also seems to be a Lego universe that acknowledges almost everything in Batman-related media. To
the point where they acknowledge the like 80+ years of Batman's existence.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, it's like this might be this Batman is pretty old. So,
What can you say? He, by his words, to quote the Batman himself, he ages pretty damn well.
exactly. So, but no, it's like, in a sense, being a spoof movie, it actually being a parody of Batman in general, it ends up being kind of like the ultimate Batman story. Especially when they can get away with things like, I think you said it best while we were watching it. Like, this is definitely a story you can get away with in an established universe or even a more serious Batman movie.
Oh, yeah. And especially since this is a movie that attempts to shake up the status quo in ways you never thought possible, where it's like, what if this was a story where the Joker gave up? What if all the villains gave up? What would happen to Batman then? Would he still continue to be Batman? Would the Gotham City still need him? There's been many times where people have asked in real life, why can't Batman simply, work with the police or work for the law as Bruce Wayne? Why can't he actually, try to cooperate with the police and started using his own technology to help the police be a little less corrupt?
Yeah.
And, this version of Barbara Gordon is all for that. He's like, why can't Batman actually join us instead of beating the shit out of villains?
Now, in a more serious context, that mentality actually works because, again, a lot of Gotham City police officers are not exactly trustworthy, which is nothing like real life. Blink, blink, blinkety, blink, blink. But get that reference.
I think the right sound effect would have been wink, wink.
Damn it, wink, wink, winkety, wink, wink, wink. Okay, but damn it, I just ruined this podcast. So
long, everybody.
Hey, Men in Black 4.
Everything is awesome.
Men in Black 4 is coming out in 2 weeks. Just enjoy that, gentlemen. So get it because it's Sony.
Yes. So, anyways,
okay.
What were you saying as well?
Where was I? I got into a tangent.
The story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the story. Yes, I find it hilarious that, okay, in a more serious context, this Batman would never team up with the police for various reasons. One, to protect his identity, or two, there's like too much corruption on the police force. And as a vigilante, you can do a lot more, both positive and probably questionable. Here, though, this is a slightly more nicer world where Batman's relationships with the police and the villains seem to be like extreme play dates, for lack of a better term. It's like so much so I think even the villains outside the Joker doesn't really take this too seriously, and Batman sees this as an awesome hobby that just fills his own ego. And of course the citizens of Gotham loves it until Barbara points out the obvious. It's like, now, have you noticed that none of the criminals ever get captured by Batman? It's like, she's making sense. And it's like, I can assume this is a world where it's always been, like, this is a Gotham City that's been in constant villain chaos for 90 years. It's like, and nobody's questioned it.
It's like a perpetual cycle of violence that never ends.
Yeah, and silly violence. Again, it's like, this is less like life to death battles than it is grown men in cosplay having extreme play dates that endanger the city. So, yeah. But it's only when the Joker discovers that he's really nothing to Batman, which is actually kind of funny. I've never felt sorry for the Joker before. So, minus for exception, we really did feel for the poor little Lego thing when he started crying there.
Yeah.
It's like only then does, the plot is moved it forward. And of course, that leads the Joker to giving up and apparently Batman being forced to take drastic measures to be the hero again. Yeah, to fulfill his own ego. And of course, this leads to some even worse villain consequences later on in the movie. So. And
the thing I like about both of the Lego movie and the Lego Batman movie is how they're able to take very basic stories with the Lego movie sort of being like the story of the hero's journey, where you start with a character very timid, awkward, the reluctant hero, your typical reluctant hero, and eventually goes through many obstacles until he eventually becomes the hero that was supposedly destined to save the day. Whereas this one is just the story of like a jerk who learns to become less of a jerk and more open with his feelings and emotions.
And played by Will Arnett. I do not see the irony in that whatsoever. Because he usually does a lot of stories and tells characters similar to that same kind of plot turn.
I see.
Okay, that's what that joke was about. I'm not calling Will Arnett a jerk in person. So, or am I?
Who knows?
Okay.
So let's see. Besides Will Arnett's portrayal of the Batman, were there any other characters that stuck out for you?
Well, first off, I do have to say Will Arnett is definitely the star of this movie, and it's great too because he is a really good comedic actor. He's always had a major charm about him.
Mm-hmm.
And that voice, it's like it's right up there with Patrick Warburton and Bruce Campbell. So, so it's great that he's playing Batman, but again, it's a grown man child who's being forced to grow up and makes many terrible mistakes, and this is definitely not the perfect Batman that fans assume it to be, but it works out great.
Mm-hmm.
As for other characters, it's kind of a double-edged sword because on one hand, many of the other actors they've got playing the major supporting roles are great. I actually like Zach Galifianakis. Yes, Zach Galifianakis. Damn it, I had it right the first time you learned it. Zach G. I actually like
Zachy G.
Zachy G. Yeah, we'll call him that from now on. Zachy G. He actually did a pretty good job as a somewhat vulnerable Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was honestly surprised Michael Cera did a really good job as this young, precocious little Robin.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know it was Michael Cera until right before this review.
Exactly, he gives the voice work a lot of energy too. It's like
that's more energy than I've ever seen him in his entire career.
Exactly, it's like so far this might be his best movie role yet. Although I've yet to see many of his movies outside Scott Pilgrim Conquers the World and other movies. So.
Wasn't he in American Ultra?
And I've heard a lot of good things about that movie, but I think it may have been the other guy who looks like Michael Cera but is not Michael Cera.
The Social Network guy,
yes.
Jesse.
Yes, Jesse Eisenberg.
Or Lex Luthor, if you want to acknowledge that.
Don't you mean Lex?
It's Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg. Okay, not to be mistaken with Jesse the Iceberg, who is of course the one responsible for the destruction of the Titanic.
Or not to be confused with Heisenberg, the greatest drug lord of all time.
Who also sank the Titanic.
Who would have made a really badass Lex Luthor.
Yeah, unfortunately got killed by a couple of Mudos on his way to the studio.
And so anyways, we got...
we could have kept that up for another 4 hours, you know?
Right, Bryan Cranston references aside.
He was the Snizzard. You know that, right? The Power Rangers?
So anyways, Bryan Cranston references aside, there's also Rosario Dawson as Barbara Gordon / Batgirl.
She's always a trip, no matter what work she does. She always gives a very competent performance, and this was no different, even knowing... Although I hate to say it, she was probably the second to Alfred, the least funniest character of the movie.
I think that's only because she's played up mostly as the straight man of this comedic group.
Yeah, so not as badly as Alfred, and I do like this version of Alfred, but this Alfred had a lot less jokes too in comparison.
Let's see, played by Ralph Fiennes?
Ralph Fiennes. It's spelled...
Ralph Fiennes. Okay.
Yes, it's spelled Fiennes, but it's announced Fiennes. And unfortunately, he's probably best known today as Voldemort in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, although he's had many other roles before. Although the funny thing is he's never had the chance to do comedy with recent exceptions, though. He was very good in the Grand Budapest Hotel.
That's so strange that I'm looking up the credits, and I'm so surprised that they got Voldemort to play Pennyworth, to play Alfred, but they didn't play him to play that other role that I don't want to spoil.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
You probably already know what it is because of what I just said.
Yeah.
So anyways, and everyone else is just a cavalcade of different actors, both popular and not popular, all coming in to voice different characters.
Yeah.
And we got Channing Tatum returning as Clark Kent / Superman. We have Jonah Hill portraying both, once again reprising his role from the Lego movie as Hal Jordan / Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. Let's see. We had Billy D. Williams finally playing Two-Face.
Yeah, which comes to something I hinted at not too while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I said that the casting for this movie is a double-edged sword? On one hand, the lead actors do a great job, and they get some really talented people to do the voice acting here.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, this also reeks of the typical Hollywood, we got to fill out with celebrities because how dare we get lesser-known actual professional voice actors to do even minor roles because, it might scare away the Joe and Joe public. Hence,
Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, we can't get a voice actor, a professional, experienced voice actor to play such a minor role like the mayor of Gotham City. Nah, let's get Mariah Carey.
Yeah, that was Mariah Carey as the mayor?
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Wow, I almost mistake her for Whoopi Goldberg. She's kind of aged, hasn't she? Okay, but yeah, no, that
you're right. You're right, Rav. She has aged wonderfully as a Lego minifigure.
Yeah, and apparently transformed into a white woman too. Amazing. No. It's like I did not recognize Mariah Carey's voice as the mayor. It's like usually she's not that deep.
But and of course, let's not forget the greatest voice actress of all time, Siri, as the Bat Computer.
Yeah, that's the stunt casting right there. So, get it? Stunt casting? She's playing a car? It's a pun!
Zing! And so, yeah, looking down the IMDb list, you can see a whole bunch of other characters and even a lot of actresses who come out of nowhere. I mean, I'm noticing like Chris Hardwick as reporter number 3,
yeah.
Ralph Garman from Kevin Smith's podcast as another minor role. Conan O'Brien as the Riddler.
Yeah, and he has like 2 lines at most in the whole movie.
Yeah, that's what's kind of disappointing. You got this gigantic, talented cast of characters, and they give them almost like barely anything to do, barely any lines. Much like how it's kind of like something like Kung Fu Panda, where you go out of your way to get like Lucy Liu and Jackie Chan to play characters that have like 5 lines. 10 maybe?
Yeah, and it's even worse because, again, I don't know what Hollywood thinks about like. Yeah, it's great if you cast like a big name in like the 3 major roles of your animated movie, but it's like they have this weird. I do know in Hollywood there's this weird bias against professional voice actors. Like they're not even referred to as real actors by a lot of Hollywood agents and producers.
I always think of that one speech that Chris Rock made. We're talking about how easy voice acting is, where you just go into a recording studio and just repeat whatever the script says.
Yeah, that's the mentality of people at large, especially somebody like Chris Rock. And then of course you have these horror stories where, oh man, I totally forgot there's this one voice actor. Hold on, let me get his name and try to.
Okay, what is he known for?
Oh, wow. He did the voice of Wacko Warner in the Animaniacs.
Oh, wow. Okay, now I'm blanking out, too.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
He's the current voice of Donatello. He did the voice of both the Jim Carrey cartoon spin-offs of The Mask and Ace Ventura, although I think just The Mask. He was the original Raphael in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So he even has a successful podcast, which is... Unfortunately, I'm drawing a blank. And, wow, I'm trying to defend professional voice actors.
Rob Paulson.
Thank you, Rob Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson.
Yes,
his name is Robert Paulson. if you understand the Fight Club reference.
Oh, okay. I was going to say if you say a third time, he comes through your mirror and does voice acting for you,
and starts singing the nations of the world. United States, Canada, Mexico, Haiti, Canada, Peru,
Yes. Rob Paulson, who's really, I can't believe I forgot his name there. Rob Paulson shared this story once that, he was with, working on a movie or project where they had one big name star as the lead character, and they had a bunch of really good voice actors, major professionals in the business. And then the lady who was in charge of the operation, I don't know if she was the producer or the lead star's agent, it's like, okay, actors, settle down, the real actors are coming. So, yeah, so I think that mentality happens worse in Hollywood, and so much so that Chris Rock can make fun of it with no problem because he's probably in that same mindset. And you see this all the time. And this movie, it's great that you have people like Conan O'Brien doing the voice of the Riddler, or, it's like
Channing Tatum as Superman.
Yeah, Seth Green and Jermaine Clement as 2 famous giant monsters, kind of. It's like Jonah Hill as Hal Jordan. Like, there's a lot. Chris Hardwick as Reporter 3. Crap, even I'm surprised by that. You have all these talented actors, but coming in doing minor roles that could have easily been done by regular actors. And maybe this was, I will be honest, to be fair, this may have been a major treat for these various actors. I know Conan O'Brien is a big fan of the 1960s Batman as well as that version of the Riddler. So
Riddle me this, Batman.
Exactly. And of course, Billy D. Williams famously, he signed up to play Harvey Dent in the first Batman movie, hoping he'd get the chance to be Two-Face in the second movie. Unfortunately, I think they dropped the character in the early stages for Batman Returns as well. And then when they finally did Batman Forever, they ended up getting a bigger star in the form of Tommy Lee Jones, and poor Billy D. Williams never got a chance to do the character. But then again, it's great that Billy D. Williams is finally getting a chance to do his version of Two-Face.
But you barely notice him. He's just there and gone.
Yeah, and he has like 4 lines and at least 3 times.
4?
It feels like 4. It might be a little more.
It felt like 2 for me.
No, he has some lines, but what's worse is they're obscured with all the mayhem. It's like, now that's another thing about the movie, another double-edged sword. There's so many jokes here that you miss a lot of jokes. It's great for repeat viewing. It's like, I'm still I'm still laughing on a second viewing, especially like one hilarious gag where when the villains all surrender, it's like you can hear them like as they're being put in police cars, like friendly, "Goodbye, Batman." It's like kind of friend, like sticking the knife without realizing that Batman's life is over, and they're all always like, "Goodbye, Batman, bye." But it does feel like a waste of a lot of really good actors and like very minor roles. But I don't know. It's weird. I can't tell if this was just like a big, hey, you're a big Batman fan, come and voice the character. Or
maybe that is the case where it's just it's Hollywood and it's a bunch of, it's like kind of like a circle jerk of all their friends coming in to do voices.
Yeah. So there may be.
Although I am surprised that there's no Kevin Smith reference in here.
I know. I'm honestly surprised Kevin Smith.
I mean, you got Ralph Garman, but not Kevin Smith.
Yeah, it's like for crying out, he had a big old glamorous cameo.
He's a playable character in the Lego Batman games.
Are you serious?
Yes, he is. I'll look for a screenshot right now as you vamp.
Okay, all right. So, and it's funny because that's another character I wanted to mention. Another actor was Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, Catwoman. And it's funny because I may be mistaken, so definitely double check the facts. But I think she originally wanted to play Catwoman in one of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. But she was rejected because, according to the casting agent, she was quote unquote too urban for their Catwoman. So I guess this was a little bit of a
wink, wink, hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, sort of a historic karma, if you will, or cosmic karma.
Another standout for me was Doug Benson as Bane, doing a hilarious and goofy Tom Hardy impersonation. What will you do now, Batman?
That does help you.
And what's really funny, like, he's doing the voice, but, like, there's no, like, Darth Vader audio enhancement, so you just hear the sound of his voice all over the place.
Foster Farms remembers. Yeah, it's like, and he does get, it is pretty funny to hear that version of Bane say things like, Bane feels all warm and fuzzy inside.
It's so funny because he got like he's like the traditional like hulking luchador version of Bane, but with the Tom Hardy voice.
I know, and it's funny. I never knew a Lego character could look that buff. It's like I
that started with the Lego Hulk when they started doing the Lego Marvel movies.
Oh, okay.
And so every time you have a big character, they just use the template of Lego Hulk.
Okay, because I can understand some characters go like their version of Clayface, or their version of Killer Croc, who briefly shows up just to do something. Yeah. But it's like I was not expecting, like, that definitely does not look like your regular Lego figure.
Lego minifigure, no.
Yeah, in fact, even the Kevin Smith Lego figure that I'm looking at in this video game is fairly slimmed down and not, not what I would expect a Kevin Smith Lego figure to look like.
So another character that stood out was Jenny Slate as Harley Quinn, mostly because for once in our lives, we have a Harley Quinn that's not trying to do the Arlene Sorkin Brooklyn accent version of Harley Quinn. She's actually tolerable as opposed to oh God, what is her name? I'm forgetting voice actor names here, but she is like Bubbles, Timmy Turner,
Tara
Batgirl.
Strong.
Tara Strong, thank you very much.
That's okay. Today,
a lot of props.
The theme of this podcast is forgetting voice actors' names.
Both Hollywood and Bat fans.
Indeed.
Riddle me this, Bat fan. Who is the version who did the voice for Yakko Warner?
Next question.
Chris Rock.
You're wrong, Batman. And then he dies.
And what would break first, your your spirit or your dignity? Vain. So, anyways, a lot of props to Tara Strong as a voice actress, but I thought she was awful as Harley Quinn in the Arkham Asylum games.
Yeah.
Because Arlene Sorkin, she reprised her role for the first game, but then Tara Strong took over for the rest of the games. But her voice is so annoying, and I guess it's mostly the direction, where it's like that Mr. J type of voice is not only irritating, but she sounds like a goddamn 12-year-old, like an immature. She sounds like Angelica Pickles from Rugrats if she never grew up, with an annoying Brooklyn accent.
I think it's a little worse than that, but go on.
But thank God they dropped that persona, and this version of Harley Quinn, for what little time she has on screen, is very tolerable. So props to Jenny Slate right there.
Yeah, and not only that, but I like Jenny Slate. It's like she's always fun to listen to, whether it's her live action appearances or even as the most evil sheep in the history of animation. So, if you didn't get that reference, Andres, it's Zootopia. Have you seen that movie?
I don't know. I don't watch movies.
You idiot.
Sure, yeah, I know. I saw Zootopia. Okay, I didn't know that was her, but now I do.
Yeah, she plays Assistant Mayor Bellwether. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
all right.
But no. Here, another thing is, this is probably also the most healthy version of the Joker Harley Quinn relationship. It's like Joker himself calls her, my best girl buddy, and they do have a very kind of touching relationship. Even knowing that it really is a love story of the Joker and Batman.
Batman, yes. So it's funny. It's funny how we spend a lot of time focusing on the supporting cast, but I think that's this movie being a comedy focuses a lot on like physical humor, dialogue related humor, a lot of visual gags, all sorts of comedy all around, and it's definitely thanks to Will Arnett and his supporting cast and the extra behind the scenes guys. They're all doing their best. They all play their part really well into making these jokes work and make this universe feel fun and lively and energetic.
Yeah, and another big gag is, of course, all the in-jokes and references. Like, I was honestly surprised watching the movie with you. You actually catched a lot of the references that I didn't know about, and vice versa, because at one point, I did not know that all those rejected Batgirl outfits were actually, like, real life...
Halloween costume versions.
Yeah, really crappy ones. I thought those were just jokes. I didn't realize they existed.
Like, that's probably one thing I've always hated when it comes to, like, female superhero costumes. If you go to any party city, is that they're very skimpy. They don't look like legit superhero costumes. Maybe that's me being a fanboy. But I'm thinking to myself, there's probably got to be some hardcore female comic book fans out there that want a legit Batgirl costume as opposed to what I'm about to show Raph right now.
Yeah, no, it's like, now that you mention it, those felt like the lingerie version of those crappy store costumes you get as a kid at the grocery store.
But that's the thing. It's always got to be the sexy costume for all girls at Party City.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of female fans who just want to dress up as their favorite characters without showing off cleavage. So yes, I know that.
Or their thighs, or their shoulders.
Right. Or at least have some.
Or
semblance.
God forbid, have a mask that can cover their hair.
Yeah, it's sexy, but it's inaccurate and stupid looking. I feel sorry for the girls who are forced to buy these things. So yeah, thanks for sharing that picture with me. It's like, it's no Yaya Han dressed up as Batwoman. I'll just say that. And no, it's funny because at one point I had no idea all those terrible looking Batgirl costumes were a thing. Mm-hmm. And then there was a scene where they're introducing all these incredibly minor villains who don't have any speaking roles whatsoever.
It's like, you're just making those guys up, are you?
Yeah, no, they're real, all right. And surprisingly, they are real. I had no idea there was a character called the Calculator or the Eraser, who is literally just a man dressed up as a pencil.
I thought he would. I honestly thought that was like a reference to like some character from for that one Daffy Duck not Daffy Duck. Yeah, Daffy Duck cartoon where he was like a detective, and he meets
Tracy.
Like Duck Tracy, and he's like the Eraser. Is like, I'm gonna rub you out.
No, apparently that's a real Batman villain. He's a supervillain who cleans up evidence from crime scenes as long as the other supervillain question gives him a cut of the pay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, he's a giant walking eraser man or something. I don't know if he has supernatural powers or just a really weird costume.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, Condiment King. It's like,
everyone's favorite.
Yes, the most popular supervillain in the history of existence. In fact, he was the only reason Iron Man 2 was a good movie. When the Condiment King showed up and battled everybody, that was just awesome.
Although what's really weird is that there's no Mask of the Phantasm reference.
Well, that was going to get to that. It's like, I honestly was surprised by the sheer number of characters they threw in, because some of them, Condiment King, Catman, but then it's like they threw in characters like the Kabuki twins, who are two recurring henchmen from the Batman, that animated series people either like or hate. And
but they couldn't get the Phantasm in there?
Yeah, it's like, well, here's the funny thing. I think Condiment King has definitely originated with Batman the Animated Series, and I guess, okay, that's it. It's the Condiment King. We can't go any farther. And it's hilarious, too, because I would never have imagined in a million years that Orca would return to the big screen.
I'm a whale!
I know. It's one of my favorite gags is she kind of has a very small friendship subplot with Batgirl. It's like, what can you do? I'm a whale! You got this! We can save the city! And of course a Free Willy reference at the end. It's like, it's like Zebra Man, Calendar Man, March Harriet. I didn't even know she existed. So,
I didn't know Zebra Man was a thing outside of a Japanese tokusatsu homage film.
Yeah, exactly. And of course it's great to see King Tut and Egghead represented because...
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but again, it's just the sheer number of obscure references that go on throughout the whole movie. It's like, it's gonna, like, if you're really knowledgeable about Batman, you're gonna enjoy a lot of the in jokes and gags. But at the same time, I can tell you would get somebody who really hates, race, recasting a character with an actor of a different race, or, and of course they won't get the joke about why the hell is Billy D. Williams playing Two-Face.
They're like, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. I'm not used to seeing this version of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Of Two-Face.
Yeah.
Although, did they race bended Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon?
That's I was going to bring that up because
their skins are really dark. So I'm wondering if it's because, are they meant to look African American, or is it, or like Mexican or something, or is that like an homage to or did they get like a really big suntan, or did they get like or is this like an homage to like the Bruce Timm TAS DC animated universe, where kind of everyone had a bit of like a caramel colored skin tone?
What are you racist against sunbathers? What's going on here? Get it?
You're talking to a goddamn Latino,
Oh, that's okay. I'm a member of the Dominant Empire.
A self-hating Latino. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm disguised as a human, and I don't like it. So, no, well, here's what I was going to mention. I know Rosario Dawson, she's playing Barbara Gordon.
Right.
I hope they didn't, on one hand, it's never a good idea to recast characters of a different race, especially when it's of a race that's not usually represented, like the whole deal with
the Boltons.
The Boltons?
The Boltons from Ultraman. You can't change the race to the Boltons.
I was gonna say like something like the Ancient One originally being an Asian character, but was recasted
that whole shit
show
that whole shit show as an attempt to try to appease the Chinese demographic.
Exactly, and I think it didn't work either because I think China is really against supernatural fantasies, and the movie didn't really make it over to China. And not only that, but you also have the problem that you rarely see Asian actors in anything anymore these days in big movies.
Actually, I think that might be the opposite because they're trying to go for Chinese actors specifically.
Oh yeah, but for the American side of the equation, often the Chinese actors they get, their scenes are cut down or they're not really given much to do at all. It's it's like the last one of X-Men, X-Men Days of Future Past. They got this major Chinese actress to play Blinks, and she's barely in the movie. Or like the Chinese version of Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3, where there's a lot of Chinese actors had predominant roles, but they're pretty much completely excised and edited from the American
Avengers,
version.
Avengers: Age of Ultron, where you have the Asian doctor who eventually helps create Vision.
Actually, she's kind of justified because she's the mother of a very well-known Asian character who's this young child prodigy who becomes friends with the Hulk. So Amadeus Cho, she's the mother of Amadeus Cho, so that's what that her presence there was. But no,
right.
and then of course you have the opposite effect, like the Great Wall recently, where it was pretty much a Chinese movie that happens to have two token white guys thrown in there. So
because you gotta appease everybody.
Yeah, it was like Nick Adams and Joseph Cotton were the stars of the Great Wall. It's great that they're still working these days, despite the fact that they're both dead. I had to make a joke. I'm sorry.
I know. I understand. So, anyways, so anything else to discuss about this movie? Okay. Here's the thing. Do you think this movie could have worked had it not been about Legos? Like, is the fact that they're all Legos, does it really play that big of a role in the movie, or do you think it was something that you could have taken out entirely?
You know, if this was like a straight comedy that happened to have Batman in it, and just live actors playing these roles, I think there would have been a lot of confusion on the normal audience's part. You know, is this supposed to be a continuation of the proper Batman series or not? It's sort of a similar situation. Like there was back in the late '90s, there was a pilot remaking the Sid and Marty Krofft kids show, Electric Woman and Dinah Girl.
Yeah.
But it was done as a raunchy comedy, but unfortunately was also another project under the Warner Brothers DC house. So they had a lot of cameos connected to DC characters, but it was just confusing, like, is this, it's supposed to be a comedy of superheroes, and yet they're using the actual characters, and I think we're seeing something like that in that new television show about the disaster relief people who have to clean up after the DC heroes, and how that's kind of just making things confusing. Powerless is the name of that series.
Right.
All right, and I don't know. I think it would have been better. I think having them as Lego characters works out a lot better than if this movie was just a straight Batman spoof with either live actors or more realistic cartoon characters. Because everyone's instantly on the joke. You can have and like the original Lego movie, you can play around with the concepts and the jokes a lot better, while still staying in the verisimilitude of the story itself or the world it creates. So I think it works out beautifully then, and because of which they were able to get away with a lot more story-wise, especially with the major second half and the Joker's new friends, if you will.
Oh yeah, that involves a lot of franchise crossover, Warner Brothers franchise crossovers.
Oh, not just that, but there was also many characters from the Universal Universal films lot, since Warner Brothers and Universal are kind of working together more recently.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah, so hence the reason why Bruce was there. So the original Bruce, or even like we'll get to that. Actually, I think at this point we can just totally
because we're almost an hour in now, and I think we've talked about most of the big parts of this movie. So I guess going on to final thoughts before gushing about over spoilers. What are your closing thoughts about the movie?
It may not be the best Batman movie ever made, but it is definitely one of the most fun and enjoyable Batman films ever made. It's not as clever as Return of the Caped Crusaders, which I thought was much better writing-wise, but for what it is, this movie, I can see why this movie is doing a major blockbuster business in theaters and even defeating the aforementioned Great Wall. So, despite the amazing star power of undead Joseph Cotton and Nick Adams. Okay, never mind. I'm terrible at these jokes, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So anyways,
if you want to appeal to a broader audience, you got to dumb down your material, Ralph.
No
one's going to understand these obscure references of yours. Who do you think you are, the cinema snob?
Obscure references are the best. Prometheus died. Give me a fire, bitches. So the Lego. That, Raph? Yeah, I hear that. You're gonna put like cricket noises.
It's like it's the sound of silence.
The story of my life. So, anyways, no, the Lego Batman movie is a lot of fun, and I love that because it's such a broad parody. they're able to get away with a lot more silliness than you would in a regular Batman spoof. It's like, I enjoyed Return of the Caped Crusaders, and it was a much more intelligently written movie. But at the same time, there was no way you could get away with, some of the more insane elements that happens in this movie. I can see why so many people are kind of jumping on the bandwagon saying it's the best Batman movie. Although, to be fair, we've had so many Batman movies that it's kind of hard to tell which ones are the worst and which ones are the best, because they're pretty much, both classes are
Batman v Superman.
Yeah, there's also Batman versus Robin, The Killing Joke, and some of the other more...
Oh, yeah, all the others.
Yeah, the Batman serials from the 1930s weren't so good. So there's a lot of Batman that's not good, but there's also a lot of...
What are you talking about? Dr. Daka is the best Batman villain ever. Where was Lego Dr. Daka? So this movie sucks because it doesn't have Lego Phantasm and Lego Dr. Daka. What the hell, writers? You call yourselves true Bat fans?
Oh, when we get to the spoilers, I got a fun little fact to share with you. But,
okay.
But no. And the great thing is there's been so much Batman material that you can get away with playing around with these characters, hence the bromance between Joker and Batman. The fact that Commissioner Gordon and Barbara Gordon might be of African-American descent in this movie. You could get away with it because it's been done millions of times before. So, yeah, but no, I really did enjoy this movie very much. I don't think it's less of a love letter to the whole Batman franchise, and it is just a crazy comedy that takes everything from the franchise and takes everything out of the toy box and uses this in this story. So, absolutely. Yeah, so if I was I would definitely recommend it for anybody. Oh, what I should be saying, though, is despite all these great references and despite all these characters, as a basic plot on its own, it works great as a story about a man who needs to grow up and rediscovers the value of family amongst friends, as well as supervillains in some cases. And I think the parodies work best when you have an actual story underneath it to upheld, to be
definitely.
Yeah, to be the archetypal skeleton of the whole story, so to speak.
Right. I mean, a lot of the greatest parodies out there have also had great stories. It's like for a great story, you need to have great characters you want to follow, characters you feel, even if it's like a movie that doesn't take itself seriously, they're still got to have points where you want to feel, have an emotional attachment to these characters.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Whether you laugh at their misery or cheer for their successes, you want to root for them, and you want to follow. You want to be able. You want to follow them. You want to feel compelled to follow these characters and see their journey through. And this movie does a fantastic job at that.
It's funny you should mention that, because earlier we were talking about Young Frankenstein and Hot Fuzz. And I think that the Lego Batman movie fits in that same regard. Like, it's a parody that's dead on to what it's parodizing. In this case, Batman, whereas Young Frankenstein was the old Universal monster movies, and Hot Fuzz was American action movies. Except that there is an underlying main story that keeps you invested even when the references fail. And oddly enough, each and every one of those movies, Young Frankenstein, Hot Fuzz, and Lego Batman, they all deal with basically bromances or unlikely families amongst, friends. So it's like by the end of Hot Fuzz, it's like the whole police department is basically on Nicholas Angel's side. Or it's like Young Frankenstein, it's really about a father creating a son and finding a whole new family out of it. So I think that's the best comparison I can make it. It's a broad parody, but one with a very strong internal
heart.
Base. Yes, a very strong heart as its main story.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's my thoughts right there.
All right, excellent. I pretty much agree with all of that you just mentioned right there. So those have been our thoughts of the Lego Batman movie. So for the last couple of minutes, I want to say, because I know we're almost at at the hour mark. Probably we're at there. So I just want to quickly just get out anything you wanted to bring up, spoiler wise. So here we go. What do you want to bring up?
The fact that halfway in the movie, the Joker, desperate to get back at Batman, just for rejecting his feelings, decides that he's going to break into the Phantom Zone, but instead of getting a lot of some of the more cosmic
DC villains,
we instead get a whole bunch of characters from Warner Brothers films as well as Universal and maybe other studios. So we end up getting unlikely meetings between Voldemort, the Eye of Sauron, King Kong, the Kraken from Clash of the Titans, the Wicked Witch of the West, who is actually connected to MGM. Dracula's in there, although I don't know if that's public domain Dracula or, Universal Studios Dracula.
Probably.
Yeah. The Daleks, of course, because BBC releases a lot of their material through Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
British robots. Go tell your nerdy friends what they are. Go ask your nerdy friends what they are. I mean,
exactly. He's not worth it.
Exterminate.
Exactly. So, so there's a lot of it's kind of cool to see all those characters.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, though, that was also one of the biggest criticisms by critics and fans that they're kind of pulled out of the movie once all these different villains show up. But at the same time, it is kind of cool to see, because again, it's kind of weird to see all the Batman villains being kind of like pure good guys who work with Batman towards the end to fight these relatively worse bad guys. So, which is weird too, because King Kong is usually supposed to be one of the more sympathetic monsters, and here he's like, kind of a dick.
Don't think too hard about it.
Thank you.
It's like, I think at one point I may have seen Red Hood. But it's like the classic Joker version of Red Hood, so I'm like, wait.
He's in there. He's in there.
Yeah, so I was like, wait a minute, how does this work? He's clearly pre-Joker, whoever the Joker was. Like, he's killing joke version of Red Hood. This can't be Jason Todd. It certainly can't be Jason Todd because we've got a Dick Grayson Robin, so how can we have a second Robin? And there goes my mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't think hard about it. And besides, there's been multiple Red Hoods outside the Joker and Jason Todd, so don't worry about it. It's just some guy wearing the suit. He was just hanging around.
Just some asshole.
Yeah. Just some asshole. So there's a lot of like really neat crossovers there. It's like I never thought the Eye of Sauron would be an intriguing character of all things. So and voiced by Jeremy Clement, who oddly enough has so far voiced giant monsters in 3 family movies recently, Moana and the BFG last year.
I see.
Yeah, and now he's voiced the Eye of Sauron, so that's kind of a funny little trivia for me.
And we've got Seth Green as King Kong.
Yeah,
so this is technically, and we should have put had we known about this, we should have put this into the Kong retrospective we did, or the Kong retrospective I did with Deadpoolzilla.
Yeah, it's so ironic. We got Seth Green, one of the smallest actors in Hollywood, playing King Kong.
Now that's a movie magic right there.
Indeed. So, but yeah, no, it's that was kind of really cool to see all these different characters come back. And again, this is a very broad parody, which actually features the actual characters themselves. Mm-hmm. So it is cool to see the classic Wicked Witch of the West from the original MGM movie,
as opposed to generic witch number 42.
Yeah, or worse, like. Barely copyright safe sexy version of the witch that we got out of Disney's
from Party
Oz.
City.
Yeah, or equally as bad, Oz the Great and Powerful. What the heck were they thinking there?
With Crazy Meg's voice.
Yeah. Oy, that was not a good movie. Nothing good about it.
Hey, I liked it.
I know you do, but I grew up with the original.
It's got Sam Raimi. He's directing it. He did a good job.
Yeah.
He tried.
He tried. That's all.
He tried.
Yeah. Well, what else do you expect when you hire Nick Adams, Joseph Cotton playing the Wizard?
Okay.
No, never mind.
Damn it! Stop with the obscure references, Raph.
Never.
I don't watch movies.
You have no culture in your soul. Not like me, a sad soul who goes out of his way to watch Attack of the Crab Monsters. Damn it! My life is a hollow lie. So, but
it took you this long to realize.
Yeah. You son of a gun. So. Your mother's too nice of a lady. That's why I don't use the B word.
Anyways, anything else you want to bring up?
That's pretty. I really enjoyed the Alfred Batman relationship. It's like you've never, you have no surrogate son. Why are you so concerned with me?
Yeah. It's like, oh wow, Batman, it's like you touched a nerve there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something a lot of people tend to forget, that Alfred is really a surrogate father to Batman in many versions of the story. which is funny too because when Alfred originally appeared, he was just the really crappy comic relief character who showed up, hoping to be a detective in his own right and ended up kind of getting blackmailed and becoming their butler. So now the character's evolved into literally a major, basically Batman's second father, so to speak. So,
and it also reminds me a lot of how perhaps this movie's in a way sort of maybe sending a message to people that like I like how this version of Batman it kind of like embodies the fanboy mentality of how Batman fanboys tend to view Batman as like the be all end all coolest character ever. And a lot of people tend to think Batman is at his best when he's dark and brooding, and it's like he represents all these superficial reasons why people like Batman. He's dark, he's cool, he's brooding, he's awesome, he's muscular, he's got gadgets. But I guess the real reason why we care about Batman as a character is because of all the pathos involved with his backstory. A lot of his supporting cast that really balances out and kind of saves Batman from the edge of despair, from going down that slippery slope into insanity. And so it's almost like we go from this superficial, cocky, full of himself version of Batman to a closer depiction of the Batman who embodies the traits that we like and why he has persisted for so long. For many people, they don't like Robin because they think he doesn't fit with Batman. Batman's too cool for a sidekick with colorful costume, a colorful costume. Or it's like, oh, fuck Robin. He's too dark. He doesn't fit with this dark, awesome, brooding character. And then this movie kind of comes in and say, hey, every Batman needs a Robin, and here is why.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I was also saying you're a much better speaker than me too. So.
This is coming from the person who is really terrible at improv.
Indeed. So insert Joseph Cotton, Nick Adams joke here.
God damn it, Raph.
Yes, I'm terrible at improv, but
so anyways,
yeah, this podcast is going as well as a Sony boat.
There we go.
Yeah, I got one. I did something.
So, with that said, I believe those have been our overall thoughts on... Oh, shark repellent! They brought back the bat shark repellent, the shark repellent bat spray.
And used against Jaws himself. That's kind of a brilliant a full circle joke right there. A brilliant full circle joke right there.
Yes.
So
anyways, those have been our thoughts on the Lego Batman movie. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. Please let us know your thoughts on the Lego Batman movie or anything else related to Legos or Batman. So, the last question I want to ask you, Raph, are you interested in their next project, the Lego Ninjago movie?
Very much so. I hear that Nick Adams, Joseph...
Fuck you!
I'm sorry, I had to.
This review is over. Where can people find you, Raph?
6 times the charm. They can find me online with my DeviantArt account is Enshohma at DeviantArt. You can also find my blog, Enshohma's Corner. There's also, I have my own YouTube page, and I'll be uploading some more stuff before the end of March. And I have my own official Facebook group called Enshohma Lives. Basically, just take my name Enshohma, put it in the Google, and you'll find.
Put it in the Googles.
Yes, put in the Googles, and you'll find Enshohma You'll find me pretty easily. And if you're connected to DeviantArt or Facebook or even YouTube right here,
or Brendan Tenold.
Oh yes, I keep forgetting I do stuff for that guy.
The one guy who put you on the map.
Exactly. Here I am wasting my time with Joseph Cotton and Nick Adams references. And completely forgetting about the guy who's made me semi-famous in a internet Z-list capacity. I'm not that bad. Yeah, I do title card artwork for Brendan Tenold. I'm his original title card artist. Started with the top 10 Ray Harryhausen movies, and I've been there ever since. So yeah, you can check out a lot of the title cards over at my DeviantArt page. I know I haven't been uploading a lot of the more recent ones, but definitely expect that to be changing throughout March. In fact, there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe during March.
In fact, did you ever do the title card you made for me for the Halloween live stream?
I I was the colorist for that. I know someone else did the artwork for that. In fact, I have done a lot of coloring work and compositions for your title cards.
Right. But did you ever share? But he ever shared that one?
No, I haven't. I got to upload that.
You should, especially since we're talking about Batman.
Exactly. I'm a freaking artistic genius, just like Joseph Costin and Nick Adams. Okay.
Your time is up.
Yeah, the 7th time was not the charm right there. Okay.
You're pushing your luck, Raph. So, anyways. Be on the lookout for future videos, depending on what order I put these videos out. By now, you should probably see the latest video that I'm currently rendering is the latest installment of Kaiju's Corner that I did with Denny Roth, aka Draco Rollin, on giving our thoughts / review on Max Landis's rejected script for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Lionsgate movie.
Oh, that's going to be an interesting listen to.
So it's pretty much an hour and a half of us talking about the Power Rangers, the cinematic Power Rangers that could have been, as well as giving our more updated thoughts on the current non-Max Landis Power Rangers movie that's coming this month. Also, be on the lookout for the latest episode of Shoe Watch, which has been on the back burner for a while. Hopefully, with a kick-ass title card provided by this awesome guy right here.
Thank you.
And be sure to check out, what else? A season 1 review of Voltron, Voltron Legendary Defender, Voltron Legendary Defender Season 1 that I did with Draco Rollin and Christopher Martinez with another title card photoshopped together by this awesome guy here. I do want to let you know, I do want to let you know, as much shit as I give you for the sake of comedy, I do want to say I appreciate all your talents, and thank you so much for coming on here and every other time you've been on this show.
I feel just like the Condiment King when the Joker asked him to join his posse. Thank you so much, man. I'm honored.
And speaking of Raph, you can also check out our last collaboration where we gave our initial first impressions on Uchu Sentai Q Ranger, the 41st Super Sentai series, and just giving, as well as our general thoughts on Super Sentai as a whole. Yeah,
spoiler warning, I have not kept up on the series after the first episode.
That should pretty much tell you our thoughts right there.
Yeah.
So anyways, I have been Andres Perez, aka KaijuNoir.
And I'm the one and only Raph Enshohma.
And until next time, everybody, take care.
Nick Adams! I ruined it, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Okay, great.